Okay, another small tutorial on scripts and PlayMaker and how they communicate. So I'm just going to make, I don't know, a cube like that. And, well, yeah. Let's give this guy a rigid body. And then let's tag him player. And then let's create a sphere and make that a trigger. We'll call it item. So PlayMaker wise, I could go like this. Trigger event on trigger enter with item, send event, we'll say collect, store the collider of what we hit as the hit object, and then let's just destroy object, the hit object, and int add we'll have a, I don't know, a score. We'll add 1 and go back. Alright, now if I go to my score and stick it here so you can see it, and I hit play, our score is 0, score is 1, and this little thing is gone. Okay, so that's cool. Now what if I wanted a script? That we wanted to read that score. So I need to be using PlayMaker, so I have access to its stuff. We need a public PlayMaker FSM, or FSM to watch, and let's do a public int FSM score. Okay, so there are numerous ways I can do this, but let's say let's do public int FSM score down here, actually. And get sorry, my eye is right messed up. I'm trying to see as I do this, and it's not the easiest thing. So we need to get our one sec here. Actually, no, let's do it in the update for now. So okay, so we will need a public int FSM score. Okay, so FSM score equals our FSM to watch dot FSM variables dot get FSM int. The name of the int inside the FSM is called score dot value. Okay, now let's do if FSM score is equal to 3, let's FSM score dot our FSM to watch dot send event we'll say do stuff. Alright, so I'm just going to drag him there, so that's our FSM. That's the score. And this guy needs an event called do stuff. Alright, so that's based on 3. So let's duplicate this here sphere. Okay, so if I come over here, I hit 1, we now have a score of 1, 2, and 3. Score is 3, and we have the event of do stuff. Right, and it's constantly firing every event right now for how I wrote it. So that's kind of how one way we can link over one thing. And actually, just 1 second here. Just going to pause for a brief second. Sorry about that. I just got like a infection happening in my eye, so I got to throw drops in it every now and then or something like that, or I can't see. It's messing me right up. Alright, so that's kind of one version. So the other thing we could do as well is, say we get let's get return, and I'm just going to copy this guy. And set, let's say FSM score value. No, sorry. 1 sec. Sorry about that. When I first put the drops in, its vision gets all wonky. Okay, so FSM score, where are we? Equals value. And it needs that. Okay, so what we're more or less stating here is this value, this score, is going to be getting this value and setting this one. right? It'll look a little more clear when I hit play. Oh, I gotta put the serialization to it, else we can't see it. And I'm going to take this one away so we're not duplicating it. Actually, that's probably all we need to do is take that away. So if I took it out of update, so this thing's no longer in the update, right? And if I hit play, and I'm going to expand this out and lock it. Oh, that's not working the way I wanted it to work. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to get that score.value and set that score. That should be working. I wonder if I got to do this. All right, let's just see if that fires an event real quick. And I gotta unlock that. Yeah, so he's still going up. So we're just not able to see it. Gotta fix that. Right, because right now there's nothing in the update for this FSM score, right? So it's getting this value from the FSM and it's setting this. So I mean, I could do this public int temp and temp equals FSM score, and then you should be able to see that. But this method here is going to allow us, think of it as a way to, you can kind of link them, I guess, in a better way. All right, so this temp, we're not actually doing anything to it other than it's going to equal score, and the score is that get. All right, so it's, there it goes up. So what else can we do? What about, okay, so he's got, let's take this guy, let's just copy him over. Paste component is new, let's get rid of this guy. So he has this, I mean, it's the same thing, but okay, so let's do this. I'm gonna make it so this guy, like, we don't have it in the, like, we don't drag it in. Public void start. So on start, our FSM2 watch equals, and PlayMaker has a function called find FSM on game object. So this dot game object, and whatever the name of that FSM is, I have no idea. So we'll have to name it. We're going to call it, I don't know, stat. Okay, so there's that. The other thing I wanted to do was, what if we made a method here, public void some method, and it says, let's pass in an argument. We'll say an integer and some value, and this can debug.log some value. Okay. So now, like I said, now if I get rid of this, so it's none, so it's starting empty, it has to find itself. And then on, we'll say this one, when this happens, let's actually make a variable. The easiest way to do this, I mean, it's, I don't know if it's the best way, but it works really well, is literally just dragging the script and dumping it in here, and then just renaming it. But we'll say our script, it's an object type, and we want it to be demo get values, that guy right there. Okay, so on start, we want to get owner and get component. So we're going to get owner, and that's self. Get component needs to be underneath that. Oh, the get component has the owner thing. I guess I don't need that one. Okay, but so we're going to get our script on our owner. Now every time we come over here, let's call a method in, oh, it needs a component to call into our script, and we'll say some that, and let's call our score. So now, oh, we have a reference issue right there. Oh yeah, we never did name that FSM, so I called it stat. All right, so now it's filled, no errors, and if I bring over here, you know, our score went up. And of course we have our debug log. I'm going to drag this down here. All right, so there's 1 because it's calling that method. There's 2, there's 3. So now our PlayMaker is now calling methods. And you know, vice versa, we can go the other way too, right? Such as, let's put a script on these things. And let's do, so we destroy these things, right? So let's just abuse that. Oops. Let's do a public void on destroy. So when he gets destroyed, what do we want to do? We can debug log, but we want to talk to a script. So let's do, all right, let's do game object G equals game object dot find object with tag. Let's find a tag player, and then PlayMaker FSM player FSM equals PlayMaker FSM dot find FSM on game object, and the game object is a G, and we know the name is stat, and player FSM dot should we set a value or set an event? How about we do both? Dot FSM variables dot get FSM, we'll say a float. We'll have to make a float on our guy, and we're going to call it some float dot value. You always got to use the value when you're working with FSMs. Equal random dot range 0 to 100, and then player FSM dot send event random. Okay, so we need a float called some float and an event called random. So let's just stick that also on these, and on this guy let's get a float called some float, and then let's do another one, float called total float, and then we can have an event called random, and when event random is called, we are going to float add total float with some float. Alright, so let's stick those out here so we can see them. I don't actually use that one. Okay. So now if I hit play, I move them over. So we have some float came in as 1, total float is 1. Oh, and of course we got to make it so that these things flow back, or else they're not going to re-hit that trigger event. Oops. For how we have it set. Alright, so now, okay, some float came in that time as 41, so total float is 41, score is 1. Okay, it came in this time as 51, so now it's 92, and off it goes. So there's a nice little way that we can do that. What else? What else is there we could do? We have all sorts of little things. So we had scripts talking to the PlayMaker, FSM, changing variables, getting variables. We call the method. I don't know what else to really add into that. I mean, we're sending events, right? Like if you were shooting or something, right? Like for example, if you look at this thing, it's I'm just using find, which isn't a good thing to use often. It's expensive processing wise. But same idea, right? Like I could do public void on collision enter, And on collision, let's do this, but instead of GameObject D equals the find, it is the collision event dot collider dot GameObject. So whatever we collide with, that GameObject is where we're going to find all this stuff. Right, and then of course now the triggers won't fire, but that's okay. And of course we need to actually be able to see this stuff, right? See, so there's, every time I hit it now, we're getting that collision event. So it's still working, right? They're finding the GameObject's FSM that it's whatever it's colliding with, right? So if you want to do that with a raycast or whatever, you can do that pretty easily with that style. So I don't know, I can't think of anything else really to demonstrate how these things talk back and forth, scripting to PlayMaker. By all means, if you have any certain ideas or questions, ask and I'll see what I can do. Till then, we'll talk to you later.